As a child, you would wait and watch from far away, but you always knew that you'd be the one to work while they all play. And you'd lay awake at night and scheme of all the things that you would change, but it was just a dream. Will come when you have to rise above the rest and prove yourself. Your spirit never dies. Farewell, I've gone to take my throne above, but don't weep for me, 'cause this will be the labor of my love. Here we are, turn away now.
Any player on or off the field, and I will guess the number.
No.
Any play. That's like 100 to 1. It's good odds for you. 2 million. That's fucking crazy. I don't like it. Okay. I'll sweeten it for you. You pick the player. And she'll guess the number.
What?
You're fucking crazy, but I can't turn down free money. You got a bet. Hell,
Don't try to look this. But it's not enough. You lost everyone's money. My money.
oh, she sounds like my wife.
Your hands off me. It's sick.
Hey, come on, wait. Whoa, hey.
Closed caption is never accurate.
Tell him to keep his damn hands to himself.
I understand. I am sorry. He has gotten carried away. He has to pretend he is the Kevin Costner and I'm the Whitney Houston. The hell? Steven, please, he just knows the how to play. Let's play. Look at me. Hey.
Yes.
Just back.
You do this. Just let me go.
Just do it. Pick a fucking plan.
Please.
Okay. Here you go. Do you want me to write it down? No, I trust you. Then it's her turn. Just do it. Pick a fucking player. He's crazy, I know, but it will be his fault, not yours.
Just texted Shiloh.
Look, I give you one chance to back down, okay? No hard feelings.
No.
Hey.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. I've been around for a long, long year. So many a man, so faith.
Number 55.
I was around when Jesus Christ
I love this
had
part.
his moment of doubt and pain.
It's gonna be you guys.
Me damn sure the pilot washed his hands and sealed his face.
No fucking way. That is unbelievable fucking YouTube.
Am I right?
Yes, you're fucking right. Fucking shit.
Oh my God.
Fucking right.
No, you're
You're
fucking
not mad?
right.
No fucking right. Man, oh, we have to go to Vegas right now. I have a jet. Oh, that was incredible. Did you see what she just did? And you have got some big fucking balls. You are my new fucking hero. Double or nothing. Oh, no fucking way. Get the fuck out of my suite. Now. We're good, coach.
What's up, gang? It is Tuesday, September 23rd. That reminds me, today is also the premiere 21 years ago of Lost. Hey-o! But tonight, well, I was just going to say, although tonight is not about Lost in any way, shape, or form, could it be? We're going to read from My War for Me tonight. For those of you still left, who still care about talking about Forrest Fenn, all 12 of us, we are going to be talking My War for Me. In fact, what I think I'm going to do today is, why don't we read every single word? And we'll do it together. If you get your book out, it of course starts on page 72. Of course, the words start on 73. We'll get to that. I want to say hello to everybody here first. Ashley and the kids are going bowling, and I'm streaming. Oh, sorry, 56. 56 of us spreading the love. Rocky, don't know who you are, but hi. Say hello to Bullwinkle for me. Right, Billy Shaw. Forrest told us if we read one chapter, if we didn't do anything else, read My War for Me. What's interesting is Jack Stoof, I don't know why I air quoted Jack Stoof. Jack Stoof told us through his year of communication with us, from the Medium article to emails to us, that My War for Me had no hints, nothing to the treasure chest solve or the poem solve, whatever you want to call it. I think that took a lot of people by surprise. Don't know if, he's being wordsmithy, if he's being direct. Like, no, man, if you want to solve the poem, My War for Me is not it. I lean with what you say, Billy. I don't care, frankly, what Jack Stoof says. I think we should always follow Forrest Fenn's advice in Forrest Fenn's chase. And Forrest Fenn's advice to us, neither here nor there for what that advice was for, but that advice was, if you do one thing, read that chapter. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Treasure hunting season ends in October? No. Here in Arizona, it's just getting going. I mean, yeah, I'm not going up to Montana to look, but no, man. Treasure hunting season right now is in full gear if you're searching in the desert. Almost there. It's still a little hot, but almost there. PG, you're still here. We're up to 13. What up, Jam? Tomorrow, I will be on Jam's channel. I think Emma is busy, and so Jam for whatever reason, wants me to be on with him. I'm the last guy you probably want on. I'm not PG friendly. I am. I'm one of those call it like I see it dudes. But rumor has it we're not going to be talking Posey because I don't have any interest in that right now. But I do have interest in talking Forrest Fenn, maybe a little DB Cooper. So make sure you tune in. I need. I don't have moderators doing links and all that kind of thing. I'm gonna go to Treasure Hunt with Us. I'm going to click their channel. And I'm going to copy and paste that link, put it in the chat. Give them one of those things, the likes, the subscribes, all the things. Sweet Pea, always happy to have you here. Thank you. I live to serve. I'm pretty sure Ghost Dancer's being sarcastic there. We have talked about that song for quite some time on this channel, haven't we? You know what's funny? Here's what's funny. I was perusing, which, by the way, I thought perusing meant like lightly sifting through at a surface level. I guess perusing is the exact opposite. It's actually looking through and combing with a fine-tooth comb in detail. I didn't know that. It's not going to be a pinned. Oh, how do I look for media, man? Ugh. Hey, Billy, can you do me a? No, you can't do that right now. God dang it. I was. I'm going to do it. I'm just going to post it and show it. I was looking at. Ben, you've been saying the same thing for 3 minutes now. I was looking through my old shit, and what caught my eye... Oh, I know how to do this. This is easier if I just type in Bean Apple. That can't be right. Fucking hell, man. Jeez. I was talking about Sympathy for the Devil on a little website called Lostpedia on April 1st, 2010. You heard me right. Since April 1st, 2010, I have been talking about Sympathy for the Devil, and I suggested it for a song that Lost should use. Of course, I can't fucking find it now. Well, whatever. Just take my word for it. Anyway, yeah. Love that song. How long has that Shiloh quote existed? It has existed since March 16th, 2023. King Catcher, always good to have you here. Joseph, cheers. Oh, Jayla G, hello there. Hello there. And Kid doesn't want me to change the intro. Fuck yeah. Spally's in the house. I can't believe there was a time where I forgot. I must have known you under a different name. Not Spally. I don't know what the hell was confusing me all those years ago, but whatever. What's up, Lucky? Oh, I'm so sorry, Ghost Dancer. Oh, my intro is the same for 5 years. It's like, you know, I stick to something. Steve, you still have me blocked on Discord, but hello, good sir. Sage Walker, as usual. Hello, my favoritist Forrest friend, Miss Susie Fenhaven. I wish Shiloh could just give an update. Hate to think of a long winter. Well, you know, I asked Shiloh just now as we were opening up if he had anything he wanted to add to my War for Me. Any insights maybe that could be valuable to us Forrest Fenn folk. He did respond right away. Nothing new to add, but have fun. His war stories were always my favorite. I'm sorry that I didn't get to hear more of them in more detail. He didn't talk about it very much, right? What did Forrest say in this chapter? If you see a warrior staring off blankly, back away slowly. We'll get to that. I had an uncle who flew helicopters in Vietnam. I guess he was, I don't remember the name. I'm not a military guy, but he would fly the helicopter, the first like squadron of them as recon into new area, I guess, and then would kind of like pinpoint spots for whoever came after them. He never talked about much of his war stories either. Anywho, I think I've said hello to the likes of all you folks. Oh, new people have joined us. Ben, you're so money you don't even know it. I know lots of things, and I'm pretty sure I'm not money. I'm 0 for 1 on treasure hunts with X marks the spot. Didn't even know what I was endorsing there. I have been endorsing a website called stoof.com, which has amounted to nothing. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see Shiloh's quote promising folks more fun and answers to come, which I think the fun has happened. Answers, not so much. I'm like 0 for 12. Money? I don't know. But yeah, we're going to talk Forrest, DB Cooper, Jars, and more. Love it. Excited for it. Alan in the house. What up, playa? I thought the same about you. Right? I was like, what? That's what that means? Man, the things you think you know, right? Oh, another anniversary today. Not only did Lost premiere on this day 21 years ago, but on this day 5 years ago, an unknown person released a Medium article about Forrest, and in this article claims to be the finder and shows pictures of the meeting with that treasure chest on that table with Forrest, something none of you other true solvers have ever done, have you? Oh, you know who you are at home. I found the treasure. I found the treasure. Now I found the treasure. But none of you had pictures with Forrest celebrating that you found the treasure. Mama Q in the house, what up? I would find it for you, but you just announced you don't have help from the mods. Well, I didn't know if you were here or not. I didn't announce that I was going live today until like an hour ago, so my bad. Did you happen to put it in there, though? No, you didn't. See? You didn't even do it, Mama Q. And Packer, you can take that nonsense. It just pisses me off because it makes a lot of sense. That damn semicolon, man. Comma is a hole above a 9. Most of us who serve don't want to share. Fair enough, right? Fair enough. But Forrest did share. A little bit, at least. And so that's what we're going to go over today. Like I said, it's the one thing he told us to do. So we should do it. Those of us who still care about what, Ben? It's a great question. I don't think we're caring about trying to find a treasure that's already been found. So that can't be it. You know, I think a lot of us would still like to be able to solve that poem. So that might be it. But then there's a lot of us who want to solve that poem who believe that the 9 Mile Hole story is all the truth. So what's the point of solving the poem if you know where the end is? I can understand that. I think a lot of the community has been conditioned to believing the status quo to the point where they're done with it. No more Forrest Fenn to a lot of the community, which is sad. But I think that also kind of gets into some of Forrest's points in My War for Me. And you care about finding JCB's box. Fine. Well, you know, I don't talk about JCB's stuff here. So there's plenty of other channels to do. I heard Froggy has an interview with JCB. You should probably watch that. I'm not here looking for other people's boxes. I'm here for Forrest. Always have been, always will be, never going to change. With that said, should we just get into it? Oh man, I almost flipped right to it too. Look at these photos of Forrest and Peggy. Look at these two little love birds. Cutesy wootsy. But if we do put our treasure hunting hats on, in this book, we have a date stamp, Saturday, the 27th of December. Didn't he say he comes home at the end of this 2 days before Christmas? No. His experience at the waterfall was December 22nd. 2 nights later, I walked to my front door in Lubbock, which would be Christmas Eve. So why does the date stamp say December 27th? Ah, we can look at the captions right underneath and we can see, look, our wedding, December 27th, 1953. So Forrest was 23 years old when he got married. 23. A lost number. Interesting. Well, should we get into it? I think I may want a little background music. They look like movie stars in that wedding photo, right? I mean, damn. Look at that fucking square jawline. Look at these guys. Huh. You know, I will say there's an interesting photo later. We'll get to it. God, so much to talk about. I guess you just start, right? Should we just do that? Should we just start? I might need to get more beer before I do that. You're not a very good liar, Mr. Colorado. I'm not sure what that means. Oh, like I think one of the JCB boxes is in Colorado or something like that. How is that me being a liar? Anyway, whatever. My war for me. That's right. I wanted music. A little background tunage. Nah. Should we not do the background tunes while we're doing this? Let's just do this. I love how he starts this. The Korean War had started 3 months earlier. Now, that immediately makes me want to go back to the previous section. And he's talking about Yellowstone summers, 19-year-old Link without discipline, going to Texas A&M, Cadet Fenn, yes, stout-hearted men, yes, the cows were grazing, yes, a threshold moment in my life, but I didn't know it at the time. Now, of course, he had My War for Me out prior to the book being published. So this little tidbit before we get into it is from Forrest for his book. So we're a couple pages away from what was previously published. Pertinent to read anyways. The Korean War had started 3 months earlier, so I joined the Air Force as a private and was sent to radar mechanics school in Biloxi. A big, ugly sergeant gave me purpose for the first time in my life, and it wasn't very funny. Sometimes just lasting something out can be a triumph. To get away, I volunteered for everything I could to get away, I volunteered for everything I could find in the manuals. Fortunately, they needed pilots, and I was accepted into training. The problem was that I was in love with the most beautiful girl you could find anywhere. Peggy Jean Proctor was her name, and we had been dating for a few years. She was in Houston going to college, and I was traveling all over the countryside trying to learn to fly airplanes. Everyone knew that she was too good for me, but tenacity was never one of my shortcomings, if you know what I mean. Graduation from pilot training was in September, and we were married after she got her degree 3 months later. I had plush assignments, and my wife was always by my side. In my first fighter squadron, I flew the F-86D, which held the world's speed record at the time. Then, as a general's aide, I flew most of the later fighters and even went to helicopter school. In Germany, my squadron flew the F-100C, and I sat alert with an atomic bomb under my wing. I mean, okay, let's pause right there. So let's retrace our steps here. Graduation from pilot training in September, married 3 months later, so we're still in December 1953. Don't know if we're still in December 1953 when he gets into being a general's aide, although he gives us a caption on the page next to us saying aide de camp to Major General Frank H. Robinson in 1955. 55. So maybe we're in 1955 when Forrest is flying with an atomic bomb under his wing. Forrest flying with an atomic bomb under his wing. You think they just hand out that assignment to anybody willy-nilly? I don't think so. The world was tense, but for us life was good and our first daughter was born. After a few years, an unfortunate conflict started in Southeast Asia, and I was separated from my wife and 2 beautiful young daughters for a year. I was reminded of what my dear friend and Texas Patriot historian Evitz Haley said of his wife Nita. It is so beautiful and fitting that only my lack of eloquence and articulacy, is that a word, articulacy? Could have prevented the words from also being mine. If Evitz were here, surely he would allow me the fantasy pleasure of addressing them to my wife as well. Courage wears a crimson coat, trimmed in trappings bold, semicolon. Knowledge dons a dress of note, fame's cloth is gold. Far they range and fair they roam, much they do and dare, while gray-gowned patience sits at home and weaves the cloth they wear. What do you guys think that means? What do you think he's trying to say? I'll pause. My 2, war 3, 4. Me 4, 2, 3. Right? It's like a memoir within a memoir. It's a good way to put it. Articulacy is a word. All right, fine. We didn't catch him. We didn't catch him there. We might, but we didn't catch him there. Fair enough. Fair enough. Crimson wears a coat of red. Trimmed in trappings bold. What does that mean? Trimmed in trappings bold. I know knowledge dons a dress of note. Fame's cloth is gold. We get that. But what does trimmed in trappings bold mean for the crimson coat? Something spiritual to have others learn from. Reminds you of Duke Wellington, Sweet Pea. You want to explain to me why? Gold lace trim. Yeah, but fame's cloth is gold. The crimson coat has trimmings on it, but does he describe those trimmings as gold? Or is like the gold cloth fake? Because you're famous, but courage has a whole different color because courage is real, whereas fame is fake. Fame is fake, courage is real. What follows is something I did right. Its sudden arrival on paper should not be confused with how long it took to get there. Some stories must move at their own pace and in their own time. This is one of them. Now, I think that gets back to, obviously, the fact that this was written prior to the publication. It's all about Hanes underwear. It's woven. I mean, right? Describes military attire. Well, then maybe he's getting to the point of like generals wear these like big, fancy, schmancy outfits that have all sorts of gold on them, but they never fight. And the grunts out in the battlefield, they're wearing a crimson coat, if you will. And that comes from courage. So page 76 is where my war for me really begins. I love this photo, right? We all know this photo. Classic Forrest. Classic Forrest. What I really love is the shadow. Why do I love the shadow? Because it's cast by no fool. Maybe the coat is scarlet or crimson because there's blood on it. Agreed. In fact, I would say the crimson almost hints to a tone of dried blood stains, as in the blood happened. Walking back away from the battlefield, it turns crimson. Packer Jack knows this photo. When the Vietnam War came along, I found myself a fighter pilot major in the Air Force. All the frailties of humankind had manifested themselves in that beautiful place and that terrible situation. Lyndon Johnson had summed it up under the heading of, quote, saving South Vietnam and all of Southeast Asia from communist aggression, quote. I bought into that pretty good. All the pilots did. The endless hours of classroom training and sorties flown over the gunnery ranges around the world had bred us to it. It was almost umbilical. How faint it seems to me now, and how dreadful it still must be for so many others. Oh yeah, we love that one. I mean, I'll just show it. Nobody wants to hear about D.B. Cooper right now. I'll do it anyway. I like it. I like it, Packer Jack. I like it, Alan. After all of the bullets and rockets and bombs had finished flying through the trees and across the skies, there was nothing left for us but the memory of 58,266 Americans whose names have been etched chronologically by the time of death on that shiny black war memorial, which is constantly being washed clean by the tears of a million visitors. In another generation or so, most of those names will be but an asterisk in the history of a forgotten war, a curiosity to wonder about, like the Lincoln Memorial. How unfortunate it is that world leaders are constantly bringing war and death to those of us who are doomed to follow their dictates. Now, right off the bat, I see the word asterisk. So that makes me want to go all the way back to the beginning of the book. We got ourselves a little asterisk right there, don't we? This won't be the first time I turn back to this page. No, sirree, Bob. No, sirree, Bob. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Later elected officials will ask the same question and give the same answer. Why? Never again. Of course, they don't know why, and there will always be another again. Almost 2,500 years ago, Plato said that only the dead will know the end of war. I didn't pay much of a price in Vietnam, and I feel a little guilty for that. Coming from a guy who was shot down in Vietnam. Perhaps I was spared to tell a tranquil story that unfolded upon me without a scar or even a bad dream, but has provided a profundity of emotions that still dwell deep and resonate inside of me, almost like a missed heartbeat. And I'm coming to that. I like how he writes. It just keeps me enthralled. Yeah, fair enough, right? Warm waters mean blood. Fair enough. Context in this chapter is interwoven with each sentence the reader reads. I agree as well. I agree as well. Okay. Nice to have you here, Kelly. Many professional soldiers who have been in the throes of life or death experiences may be forever branded by an incident, although it may have only lasted a minute or two. Later, in one's reverie, those memories can come sparking back when ignited by something innocently said or something thought. If you see a warrior staring off, quietly move away. So it is with me now as I sit here past midnight. Hold on! He brought up an asterisk. Now he's talking about as he sits here past midnight. Let me go back to the same page with the asterisk. So now I sit here past midnight beside my juniper fire, reflecting back to the year when my awareness took its first steps. Asterisk. Now, I think a lot of folks think his awareness took its first steps when he was 13 years old in Yellowstone. I happen to disagree. I think this story, My War for Me, is where Forrest's awareness took its first steps. And I think he's hinting to that by inserting both the asterisks and as I sit here past midnight. Do we disagree with me? By the way, that's fine. You can disagree with me. But for me, it's a strange connection that I can't ignore. And I'm trying to read My War for Me to understand Forrest more. I'm not reading this to unlock the poem, but it's almost like he begs me to. Strange. So it is with me now as I sit here past midnight, alone with only myself to know. I remember how it was at Tui Hoa. How do you do that? Tui Hoa, on the South China Sea in South Vietnam. Everyone was nervous on their first mission into dangerous air, and I was no exception. But this was somehow different. I had flown 326 combat missions, that number's up for dispute, and had been shot down once already. This mission was scheduled to be my last because my year was almost up. The quote, freedom plane was to take me home in just 4 days on the 24th of December, 1968. Some weeks earlier, our F-100 single-seat fighters had flown 8 ship sorties into... What's a sortie? I'm not even going to pretend to know. What's a sortie? Ha! Just like where he hid his treasure. Well, wouldn't you know it, there's no juniper at 9 Mile Hold, Packerjack. Guess you're going to have to throw that theory out, aren't you, buddy? But yeah, seriously, what's a sortie? So I stopped pretending like I know what that is. A sortie is a mission? Let me read that again then. F-100 single-seat fighters had flown 8 ship missions into North Vietnam where the dangerous air lived in great abundance. I guess that works, yeah. Oh, pine. We can't jump from juniper to pine, sir. No. Technicals. Technical. Is there juniper at 9 Mile Hold? I don't get me sucked into this, Packerjack. I'm trying to read a story here. I could feel it beckoning me to come and see. Beckoning me to come and see. And I embraced the thought. Air Force F-105 fighters from Korat, Udorn, and Ubon, Thailand had flown hundreds of... Why does he say missions here and not sorties? Why does it go back and forth? In the north. And those pilots were all heroes to me. The F-100 Misty forward air controllers flying out of Phu Cat, South Vietnam, were just as brave as the Hanoi Hilton was full of them. You know, I think he wants to just show off that he can talk about Southeast Asia like this. Our operations officer was relaxed and cavalier in his briefing. Don't worry about the friendlies. There aren't any up there. Pick targets of opportunity on the way back if you have mic bullets. But don't make a second pass. Keep your airspeed up. We've heard that one from Shiloh, haven't we? Keep your airspeed up. If you get into trouble, go for the water squawking Mayday. You guys are seasoned in the soil and I'm not worried. Yeah, right. He wasn't going. A few minutes later, we were in position and ready to roll. With a hand signal to my wingman, we slowly moved our throttles forward to the stop, and we held the brakes hard. I would assume you got to hold the brakes hard, otherwise it's gonna fucking go. A quick scan of the 24 gauges on the instrument panel. I always find that interesting because there's 24 lines in the poem. 24 gauges on the instrument panel said my ship was willing and ready, so with a head nod, we rolled in tight formation. After 3 more seconds and another nod, they nod a lot, we each moved our throttles outboard to the afterburner latch. Then, with only a second's pause, the fun started. As 16,000 pounds of thrust and fire exploded from our tailpipes through silver-plated titanium eyelids that quickly moved in and out, then settled on an optimum temperature that gave maximum power. At liftoff, the predictable whisper of the afterburner was soothing and reassuring, and we soon outran the sound. My F-100D was so solid and strong that being afraid wasn't easy. But with 4 750-pound bombs, 600 rounds of 20-millimeter high-explosive incendiary bullets, and 55 gallons of fuel and 2 high-drag external tanks, we weren't exactly charging the sky. What does that even mean? We weren't exactly charging the sky? Like, as in, like, he's got so much shit on his F-100 that, like, it's not like he's going to fucking break the sound barrier? What's up? I wonder if you meant... that's such lore. Folks would have to know. A scheduled flight op for designated plane. I'm guessing that was for sorties. Got it. Cool. Cool. I love Forrest Fenn too. We weren't exactly charging the sky, and I don't exactly know what that means, but the climb out was smooth. So is it slow? Is it slow? Is that what the climb out was smooth as usual, and the jungle through my widescreen was a deep green and covered with trees 300 feet high that seemed less and less important as we clawed for altitude. Clawing for altitude. Okay, so they're going, and everything's getting smaller and smaller. Got it. To the right of the beautiful South China Sea that I had known for many months, to the right was the beautiful, it's hard to read out loud, we'll admit. To the right was the beautiful South China Sea that I had known for many months. The green was different from the color of the trees, but just as beautiful. In a way that I can't explain. The sea seemed somehow foreboding and sinister, at times even diabolical. Maybe it was because I knew the history of that water, its treachery. It had diluted the blood of so many sailors who dared to test its beauty. At about 4,000 feet, I jiggled my rudder pedals, signaling my wingman to move out so he could relax and we could better keep the watch. Suddenly, something wonderfully innocent occurred. A small clearing appeared at 11 o'clock on my canopy and slowly worked its way under my left wing to disappear behind. It was magical because a small waterfall in the center of the clearing dropped water so far that it turned to mist before it could spread on the rocks below. It must have been 100 feet or more. Large birds were circling around as if they also thought it was an amazing sight. How peaceful it all seemed. I remember smiling and telling myself in an idle whim, "If I get back from this mission, I'm going down there." It was a silly thing, and I knew it, but the seriousness of what lay ahead that day somehow turned the whim into a vow, a pledge of sorts. I felt I'd made a deal with that beautiful place. "You bring me back, and I'll come down there and personally thank you." The deal was struck. I trusted it, and it could trust me. It was our secret alone. All of our planes returned from that mission, and we kept going back. On each successive climb out before the clearing could disappear beneath my wing, I winked and renewed the vow, and I kept returning. On one mission in North Vietnam, after dropping bombs and turning for home, I let down to 1,000 feet looking for targets of opportunity, maybe army trucks or a munitions storage area. My wingman was 1,000 feet on my right and back at 30 degrees. At 12 miles a minute, the geography was changing fast, and my brain was thinking and planning minutes ahead. Suddenly, on the left, there appeared a large group of people bunched together, maybe 1,000 or more. I wasn't ready for what was about to happen. Although my guns were hot, I knew I wasn't going to shoot because I had to first determine if it was a legitimate target. If it was, I couldn't come back around for a strafing pass. It was too dangerous. What I could do, though, was call the guys behind me and give them the coordinates. So with an alert to my wingman, we turned in and started down to 500 feet and lit the afterburners. When I got to the edge of the crowd, I rolled on my left wing to get a good look. It was a funeral. We were traveling so fast, no one had heard us coming, and when I rolled my wing down, I could see nothing but panic and yelling and screaming and stampeding and terrible fear. It was horrible. Women were running with babies in their arms. Children had started fleeing in every direction with their arms up as if they were surrendering. One old bearded man with 2 walking sticks just looked at me as if he were resolved to meet his fate. I was so ashamed I started crying in my oxygen mask, sobbing. I could hardly see through the dark visor on my helmet, and the salty tears burned my eyes in a way I had not known for a long time. Suddenly, I hated Lyndon Johnson and Robert McNamara, and all of the other politicians who were sitting in their fat offices at home, totally oblivious to what war was really like. Now, he jumps times here, so let's take a breath, because he's about to say on the 1st of November 1968, but so he doesn't tell us what happens at this funeral. He just says that he calls in that it was a funeral and had these memories burned into his brain, down to the one old bearded man with 2 walking sticks. What do you guys think? He wasn't 80 in 1968. I don't get the joke. If Forrest was going that fast, like 500 miles per hour, how could he take in that much of the scene on the ground? Well, hold on. The number 500 comes from him getting down to about 500 feet above the ground. I don't think you're going 500 miles an hour when you're 500 feet above the ground. I think you're actually going a lot slower. You know, could he really see the old bearded man with 2 walking sticks? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, it's god awful, but I also think it's plausible. You know, women running around, children running around, all of that is viewable, right? But he doesn't say he's going 500 miles an hour. Now, above, he does say he was going, or not above, but before, he does say that he was going, what, 12 miles a minute? Yeah, 12 miles a minute. Now, that's at 1,000 feet. No, that's not at 1,000 feet. We don't know his altitude when he was going 12 miles a minute. But we do know after this moment, he goes down to 500 feet. And I have to assume he's going not as fast as he would way up in the sky, but also not 500 miles an hour. And sure, this could all like intertwine into some kind of flashback dream of Forrest having this. Yeah, they lit the afterburners. You know, that's interesting. He rolled on his left wing to get a good look. So maybe he comes back like this to get a good look. So it's like he kind of did a half circle to see it all. So that's what gave him the time to look. I don't know. I'm not a pilot. I don't know. 12 miles a minute is over 700 miles per hour. That's above the sound barrier. Okay, what? Is that true? At 12 miles a minute, the geography was changing fast, and my brain was thinking and planning minutes ahead. Well, that ain't right, is it? Interesting. I mean, I don't know what it means. Well, let's press on either way, right? Right. They didn't hear him coming. Well, yeah. I mean, that's confusing, but I think the point is to be a little confusing as well. On the 1st of November, 1968, all flying in the north stopped, and we started bombing in South Vietnam again and in Laos, which was also dangerous air. President Johnson, who was now maneuvering for peace, was telling everyone at home that we weren't bombing the Ho Chi Minh Trail in Laos, but no one told us we weren't. About 6 weeks later, on the 20th of December, 3 wingmen and I took off for a serious target. Chapone. Target at Chapone, Laos. Both the Air Force and the Navy had lost planes on that target in the previous days, and the intelligence officer who briefed us on the mission didn't tell any jokes as he was supposed to. After takeoff, we rendezvoused with the KC-135 tanker, top off our fuel tanks, and headed for the target. Each of our 4 F-100s was loaded with different ordnance. My plane carried 4 CBU-34, which the Defense Department designated as aerial denial bomblets. We were going to mine the main road on the Ho Chi Minh Trail. The plan called for me to go first while my wingmen held high. I was to drop bomblets on each of 2 passes. It was 5:55 p.m., when I ejected from my crippled F-100 and floated down into an uncertain environment. I closed my eyes tight as my body crashed into the trees, breaking limbs that bounced me around for what seemed like an unreasonable length of time. It didn't help that the wind blast during ejection had jerked the helmet off of my head. Finally, my descent was broken when the parachute tangled in a tree, and I felt myself gently bouncing up and down for a few seconds. When I opened my eyes, I was 18 inches above the jungle floor, and I couldn't believe my good fortune. See, a lot of people in this moment would go, oh my God, what bad fortune I have. I got shot down. Forrest is sitting here going, I can't believe my good fortune. I survived. See, I can get that part. I can't get the some of the military jargon, but I can get this other stuff. And as a treasure hunter, I see 18 inches, and then the next paragraph begins 18 days earlier. 18 days earlier, I'd been shot down near Bin Tui? Hak Tua? Bin Tui. I don't know how to pronounce that. Bin Tui, in the Delta region of South Vietnam. And it taught me that bad luck is not something that always happens to the other guy. I thought that any landing I could walk away from was a good one. And the incident at Bin Tui taught me that some landings I could limp away from were also good. When in combat, even if there was chaos all around me, there was always a feeling of tranquility that came from the firm belief that I was totally invincible. But at Chapone, the instant it became evident that my airplane wasn't going to take me home, every feeling I had seemed to have a mind of its own. There was no panic or heightened sense of anxiety, but my brain shifted into an adrenaline overdrive. Confidence can only come with knowledge and training, although a good ego helps. Oh, how we love to talk about Forrest using the word confidence, huh? Well, according to Forrest, confidence can only come from knowledge and training. And also, according to Forrest, imagination is more important than knowledge. Don't you just love a guy like that? Every night during my year in Vietnam, the last thing I thought of before going to sleep was my bailout procedure. It was burned into my brain. Remove the film from the gun camera and zip it in my G-suit pocket. Put the cord of my Monox camera around my left wrist and pull it tight. Throw my tape recorder on the floor. Stow all loose gear. Fasten the chin strap on my helmet and lower the visor. Put heels in the ejection seat stirrups. Force head back against the headrest. Straighten back. Lift the armrest to blow the canopy. Pull both ejection triggers. And if the emergency didn't allow for the 7 seconds it took to complete the whole procedure, then directly go to the last 5, because failure to do so, to do even one, was usually disastrous. Broken necks, backs, and legs were not uncommon. My canopy had been shattered by gunfire, but large, jagged pieces of thick plastic were still attached to the aluminum framework just above my head. I worried that the ejection seat mechanism might have been damaged, meaning I would have to crawl over the side and manually pull the ripcord of my parachute. I needed some luck. When I lifted my armrests, the canopy frame blew away from the aircraft as advertised, and I felt better. Although the jungle was dense, I decided to continue my descent and wait until the last second to eject. I didn't want to be shot in a parachute. When I reached what I thought was 1,000 feet above the trees, I pulled both ejection triggers. What followed was a blur of activity. I was blown from the plane by a 37mm cannon that was designed to provide seat clearance over the vertical tail when traveling at high speed. Then a rocket ignited automatically, propelling me up another 150 feet, while 2 nylon straps behind my back reeled in, throwing me from the seat, which fell away. Imagine thinking about that every day. That's crazy to me. I could never have been a soldier, much less a pilot. When my parachute opened, I remembered being surprised by the sudden silence, although it made me suspicious. As pre-planned, I took pictures of the blossomed parachute above me, the jungle through my boots below me, and the plane before it crashed. It had about 4.5 tons of fuel on board, and I was watching when it hit halfway up a 1,000-foot-high stone bluff. The fireball was huge, and I knew it would attract unwanted attention. Initially, I felt myself going into shock. I felt myself going into shock when I burnt my hands the other day. You see, it still looks burnt. That's not dirt. It's just burnt. And then, oh yeah, look at that bad boy. Oh, look, I'm covering you guys all up. We'll get to that. I felt myself going into shock. It was clammy, hot. I was clammy, hot, nervous. Then I remembered what they taught in snake school in the Philippines. 100% of those shot down will go into shock, and it can kill you. Lie down, elevate your feet to get blood to your head, think tranquil thoughts. So I thought about being with my father in the Lampasas? If anything, reading from this book shows you folks, I don't know how to pronounce shit. The Lampasas River in Texas with a bobber in the water catching 5-inch bluegills. In 30 minutes, I had recovered and felt strong and confident. And then I remembered the clearing and the beautiful waterfall. It was a stupid thought, but strangely tranquilizing. I felt like I would soon be going home, and I laughed at myself for being so human. Oh, Forrest, you're such a mere mortal. Attempts to contact my wingmen by radio were unsuccessful, but the locator beacon in my parachute should have activated automatically. I knew my friends were listening for it. Darkness comes fast in the jungle, and the night served a chilling menu of exciting events. Yeah. The memories of which have both entertained and humbled me over the years since. I have a strong recollection of sitting on a damp, mossy log, wondering what to do next. I knew that the Pathet Lao didn't take prisoners, so when I heard dogs barking in the distance, I quickly opened a large can of pepper that had been zipped in my G-suit for almost a year. After moving a few feet in a particularly dense part of the jungle, I spread the pepper in a circle around me. hoping to deaden the noses of any dogs that might get curious. You know, they do that in Lost. Oh, you're welcome, Lucky. Oh, you're welcome. Mushi, what up, Mushi? Right, blossomed. That's good. Clark Gable, is he important to the story or not? Could it be a clue to his own children to seek their roots of who grandma was having chickens being chased by the coop? You mean the Comanche? I think he brought up Clark Gable all the time for a reason. See, even I know that's Popoji. Popo Aggie. Let me check my phone and make sure my wife hasn't texted me. Okay. Because the Air Force didn't issue pepper as a survival equipment, a lot of the pilots made midnight requisitions at the mess hall. The Laotian night jungle was a bustle of activity. Small animals constantly made digging noises, and there were a lot of loud squawking. I couldn't decide if these sounds were made by birds or monkeys. It might have been amusing if I had not known that both cobras and tigers were also around. It was common to see their skins stretched on the tin roofs at Special Forces camps. So you got to deal with the and then you also have to worry that there's cobras around and that there's tigers around. And oh, by the way, there's a whole group of people ready to kill you. Sounds like a fun time. We've been live for an hour? Holy shnikes. Clark Gable was a veteran, right? But like lots of people were veterans. Why Clark Gable? About midnight, there was a bright flash of light that I estimated to be just a short distance away. I figured the air rescue guys were dropping parachute flares hoping to recover me before the enemy arrived. Then I experienced what was perhaps the most terrifying event of my life. The giant trees bent over, and limbs broke as a shockwave of wind and noise blasted me to my core. The high bluffs behind me magnified the sound, and I thought my lungs might collapse. The roar was so traumatic, I felt that if it happened again, I might not survive. I had experienced the effects of Operation Arclight. 3 B-52 bombers from Guam, flying in formation at 30,000 feet, had dropped 750-pound bombs. Each plane carried 105 such devices, and they were being released one at a time, but in rapid succession. The blast of noise continued for what seemed like forever. 3 or 4 minutes after it stopped, I recovered some of my senses. The jungle was strangely quiet, except for the sounds of rocks and debris that began to land in the trees and fall around me. So now he's worried about the enemy. He's worried about the snakes. He's worried about the tigers. And now he's got rocks flying at him from the sky. Good times. One small pebble hit my leg, and I kept it as a souvenir to remind me of why I never saw any generals on the front line. Ooh, I wonder, maybe I could ask Shiloh that. Does he still have that pebble? Let me ask. I love asking Shiloh what he has from Forrest. Okay, one question. Do you still have the pebble, or still have, do you have, right? Do you have the pebble, how does Forrest describe it, that hit Forrest's leg that he held onto as a souvenir? Now, I shouldn't have to explain that this is from my War for Me, because I told him that's what I was doing tonight. We'll see. And that reminds me of why I never saw any generals on the front line. The pebble, a lighter load than the bullet. Fair enough. Just some info. The elementary education system as we know it today didn't have teachers till the first institution was established, as graduating students became the first teachers. Oh my God. You guys are getting into the weeds there. The B-52s came to see me again several hours later, but I was ready. When I saw the first flash, I hunkered down behind a log and tightened up as best I could. Nevertheless, I am convinced that thousands of animals, human or otherwise, were killed in Vietnam by sound alone. At first light, I was making notes about what had happened. And this is what I wrote while sitting under a forest of 300-foot high trees that were covered with white orchids as far up as I could see. Quote, made first pass 250 degrees into the sun, 200 feet, 500 knots airspeed. Okay, so he was going 500. Well, this is when he gets shot. I was trying to connect to something else. Trying to surprise. Probably got hit on that pass. At the end of the run, I whifferdilled up to the right and back out of the sun, hoping to blind the guns I knew were there. Expended inboard CBU 34. Near the end of the pass, I got hit by probably 10 ZPU, 50 caliber machine guns tied together and firing with one trigger. Shooting from the side of a hill at about 2,000 feet on the left and level with me. Hits in nose, both drop tanks, canopy shot off, plus some in aft section because I got immediate compressor stalls and the oil pressure started down. Parentheses, I pulled around abruptly and turned all 4 gun switches on so I could mark the guns that shot me. My 20mm bullets were incendiary and had explosive warheads, the blasts from which were lethal up to 20 feet. End of parentheses. Then headed 30 degrees for bailout and instructed wingmen to hit with all ordnance the guys that had hit me. Later, it's after the quote, later one of my wingmen, Lieutenant Gary Van Vallen, said something to the effect that, quote, I saw the guy shooting at you and I got him. Although my engine had flamed out with my remaining airspeed, I had been able to get about 30 miles away from the target area and make it to a peaceful-looking part of the jungle. Later that morning at 7:55, Lieutenant James Swisher, the forward air controller who had directed my flight the night before, came looking for me. From 7 miles away, he had been the first to say I was on fire. With the help of my little radio, we were united. And he told me to hang tough, that he would be back, and then he left. Well, I remember thinking just as soon he would hang. Now see, is there like a typo here? Well, I remember thinking just as soon as he would hang around for a while. This is hard to read. It's not me. I just assume. I don't. But he had work to do, and within a few minutes, the sky was full of American warplanes, all intent on doing things that were in my best interest. I really love those guys. While the sandy propeller-driven fighters strafed the jungle all around to keep the enemy's heads down, 2 Jolly Green Giant helicopters arrived. My rescue was being coordinated by a Crown C-130 aircraft circling at 15,000 feet. The pickup chopper came in low, while the standby waited high in case it was needed. The 240-foot cable ride up on the heavy iron jungle penetrator through a tangle of breaking limbs, leaves, and tree trunks took my breath away. When I reached the hovering helicopter, Flight Engineer Master Sergeant Maples had his left hand on the guillotine, a cable-cutting device that would have allowed him to chop my line if the plane had started taking battle damage or if I had somehow become irretrievably wrapped around a tree, endangering the helicopter and the crew. But instead, when I reached the top, A1C Robert Sully grabbed the hoist and swung me in the door. Quick, get in the back and sit on a flak vest, he yelled. He didn't have to say it twice. As the helicopter sped up, in a way, I started taking inventory. Both my face and head were bleeding in a few places, but nothing serious. My left shoulder ached, My arms and legs, although bruised, were intact. My pistol and Minox camera were gone from my body, but my folding hat was still in my G-suit pocket. Well, he kept his hat, guys, like a classic Indiana Jones. Everything considered, it was a great ride. An hour later, we landed at Nakhon Phanom, Thailand, where we were greeted by a couple of generals and a camera crew. I was the 1,500th airman to be rescued by the Air Rescue Service in Southeast Asia. It was a noteworthy milestone for them and a humbling honor for me. 1,499 other men had to be rescued from that jungle, the same jungle that Forrest survived. It's both like awe-inspiring and like depressing all at the same time, isn't it? What page am I on? 91. Let me do some quick math here. How many? I've been going since what? 75 to 90s. That's 15 pages. And another 15 pages. Woo! We're almost done. So I'd say we're about halfway through of this chapter. What I'm going to go do is go get myself a couple more beers. Sorry, Forrest. I like to drink my beer when I go live because I get all nervous. And then we will continue with my war for me, a little bit more interaction with you guys. They're not called choppers. They're called birds. But I get to the chopper. Get to the chopper. All right, so I will leave you with some music. Should I do, I was going to do Stoof.com, but no. What's a good, yeah. This is good intermission music. I like this. That's a movie. I'm kidding. I'm making a joke. I don't actually think Arnold Schwarzenegger fought in Southeast Asia, just for the record. I'll be right back. Yeah. Ow, my knee! Son of a bitch!
A rainy night in Georgia. A rainy night in Georgia. It seems like it's raining all over the world. I feel like it's raining all over the world. Neon signs flashing, taxi cabs and buses passing through the night. A distant moaning of a train seems to play a sad refrain to the night. A rainy night in Georgia. Such a rainy night in Georgia. Lord, I believe it's raining all over the world. I feel like it's raining all over the world. How many times I wondered, it still comes out the same. No matter how you look at it or think of it, it's life, and you just got to play the game. I'd like be a place in a boxcar, so I take my guitar to pass some time. late at night, it's hard to rest. I hold your picture to my chest, and I feel fine. But it's a rainy night in Georgia. Baby, it's a rainy night in Georgia. I feel it's raining all over the world. And a lonely night, and it's raining all over the world. Oh, have you ever been lonely, people, and you feel that it was raining all over this man's world? You're talking about raining over the world. Oh, I said now,
This is actually probably a good song. Something Peggy might have been listening to.
The man I love, and when it comes my way, I'll do my best to make him stay. He'll look at me and smile, I'll understand. Then in a little while, he'll take my hand, and though it seems absurd, I know we're both gonna say a word.
All right. Should I just have the music playing in the background too? Can we do that, you think? See how that works. Tell me if it gets annoying though. It's annoying to me, so that's all that matters. All right. Where was I? Humbling honor for me. Correct. Page 91. The next day. Are we ready? No music, please. Yeah, I agree. No music. Yeah, that was Billie Holiday, by the way. Okay, no music. Here we go. Page 91. The next day, while climbing out in a C-130 and heading back to my home base at Tuihoya, the pilot asked me if I wanted to talk with my wife. So with patches through Saigon, Guam, Barry Goldwater, and Scottsdale to Lubbock, he brings up Scottsdale, Arizona so freaking much, and that's where my dad lives now, and I can drive to Scottsdale in 20 freaking minutes. Is there a jar in Scottsdale, Forrest? No, there's not a jar in Scottsdale. Stupid Ben. She had received a telegram saying I had been shot down and no parachute had been seen. Imagine being Peggy hearing that. Imagine being Peggy getting Barry Goldwater calling her up in Lubbock from Scottsdale saying, hey, I have your husband on the line. Imagine, phones had a cord back then, right? So she's finding out her husband is alive. She can't run through the house to go get her two little girls. She's like held back by the cord and probably go, oh my God, girls. Crazy thought. I can't even imagine. When we landed at my home base in Tuihoya, I told my boss that I didn't want to be shot down on my last mission and begged for one more. Every pilot's dread is to be shot down on his first mission or his last. And when the latter happens, it's a terrible bust on the morale of those remaining. A four-star general in Saigon gave his blessings, saying, but keep him in South Vietnam. After that mission, it was time to pay my debt to the waterfall and the magic clearing to which I felt so obligated. After some strong begging, an Army helicopter flying friend agreed to take me. It was about an hour's flight to where the little stream dropped so mistfully over the rocks below. Imagine Forrest begging someone take me to this clearing. I made a deal with this clearing, and I have to go to this clearing and check out this waterfall. Don't ask me why. I can't explain it to you. I just have to do it. That's the kind of guy Forrest is. He made me snort. It was about an hour's flight to where the little steam dropped so mistfully on the rocks below. When we landed, the geography looked so much different from what I expected. Doesn't that sound like a treasure hunter talking about being on Google Maps and going, oh my God, when I got boots on the ground, it was so different than what I saw on maps. The small clearing was now about 300 feet across, and belly-high grass made walking difficult. It was impersonal and disappointing. I was embarrassed and felt foolish for making such a big deal out of something that now seemed whimsical. Besides, this was enemy country, and although it seemed remote, we didn't know who might be nearby. Helicopters make a lot of noise, so we agreed to stay only 5 minutes. After sitting on the edge of the waterfall and throwing rocks over the drop, the pilot said, "Let's go." The sound of the rushing water was stronger than the noise of the idling engine, and I was a little uncomfortable with the whole episode. Why? I mean, I understand. Like, right, you're drawing attention to yourself with this chopper. But the sound of the water overpowered that. So it's almost, they were camouflaged by sound. As we rose and started walking in the tall grass toward the helicopter, a strange chain of events began to unfold. I tripped over something and it fell flat on my face. That never happens to me. Forrest has never tripped and fallen on his face once until now. He wants you to know that. Then I started to push myself up, and I came nose to nose with a rude aluminum grave marker. How strange and out of place it seemed. I could barely read the dirty nameplate, but did make out the name of a French soldier. Then suddenly we saw more grave markers. And the more we looked, the more we found. These soldiers had evidently been killed during the French Indochina War in 1947. But I had tripped over a crudely made stone grave marker that had fallen face down in the grass. Before I could roll it over to see what it said, the pilot was strapping in. I had to hurry. A French name and rank was followed by arcing English words across the top. So one thing right off the bat here, why doesn't he tell us the name of this French soldier? The whole point is that, like, you know, these people who gave their lives, no one ever hears of them. No one ever hears about them except for maybe that one family who knew about their son or daughter. I don't think there were too many women back then, but not coming home. And Forrest doesn't tell us the name, but he does tell us what was etched in English on this French grave marker. If you should ever think of me when I have passed this veil and wish to please my ghost, forgive a sinner and smile at a homely girl. Those words burned in my brain, and I could see them just as clearly now as I did then, when I was so rushed. I took care to replace the stone marker as it had fallen, smoothed the grass to hide it over. The promise that place had made to me had been kept, and mine to it as well. How innocent and foolish all of that seemed at the time, and even more so that a strangely insidious something began to gnaw on me. This could not be the end of it. There was no feeling of closure at all, no sense of completeness. It was disappointing. Is it fair that no one recalls where those brave French soldiers fell and are now interred in that remote jungle clearing hidden from life for a million sunsets? After a violent ending, they have been swallowed up in a serenely beautiful place, and at the same time, hidden by the ravages of time and nature. Those who fell there in that hateful, wasteful, losing war, like the one in which I was involved, are forever forgotten, save by me. It has been 56 years since that war, and no one cries anymore. That thought is deeply personable and indelible in me, even now, 42 years after I was there. My experience beside that waterfall was on December 22nd, 1968. 2 nights later, I walked in my front door in Lubbock to be greeted by my lovely wife and 2 beautiful daughters. It was Christmas Eve. For the next month, while I was on leave, the flourish of activities related to homecoming and reuniting with family and friends put my jungle thoughts on hold, except for occasional flashes that insinuated something unfinished. I didn't know enough about what had happened to even speak of, much less understand, what I was feeling and what it could possibly mean, if anything. It took weeks to digest as thoughts slowly started to seep back. What was this all about? Was it nothing? It was a blur in my mind, like a dream that kept floating in and out. Before the war started, I didn't even know where Vietnam was, or Southeast Asia for that matter. Nonsense, he knows where Southeast Asia is. It's over there. Actually, wait. Well, I guess any direction I point eventually gets there. It was so unlikely that I would be a fighter pilot and fly to that place. Why did that strange clearing mean so much to me? Why did I survive 328 combat missions but get shot down twice? Was it only to be drawn to that place? What kind of fool would take a defenseless helicopter to that waterfall? It was more than strange that I would fall to the ground and read such a poignant inscription. And then why did the words impact me so? I had a lot to think about. As the months passed, I got back to the swing of Air Force life, which by then involved teaching other men to fly. My thoughts naturally started to analyze the things that had hitherto been but a blur of incoherent incidents. Then one day in 1969, I was looking through my flight log, my eyes fixed on an entry that had only a brief explanation, but I knew. I remembered every detail of that flight and why I had marked it like that. That flight had been many years before, 13 to be exact, on the 13th of July, 1956. I had taken an old T-33 jet trainer from Stephenville, Newfoundland, to Popefield, North Carolina. A party at the Officers Club in Stephenville had detained me longer than I wanted, and although I was not a drinker, my body was already tired. At about midnight, I lifted off for a long, dark flight that would take me down the length of the eastern seaboard across a blur of lights that never slept. Boston, Providence, Hartford, New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, Norfolk, and so on. Because of the great distance involved, it was necessary to climb as high as possible, 49,000 feet, to save fuel. Parentheses, blood will bubble in the human body if pressurization is lost at 50,000 feet, unless the pilot is wearing a pressure suit. Good to know, right? Not a drinker. Clearly, you're not a golfer. I'm neglecting you guys. I'm getting into the story. I'm forgetting to interact with you guys. Oh, what's up, Street? Forrest made a promise to nature, and nature made a promise to him. What was the promise? Was the promise safety? Solitude? But a fleeting moment kind of thing? I don't know. Only at Fenbury. What's the name of the French soldier? He doesn't know, right? Almost like a rude bronze French chest. A French chest that says made in France in English. Did you know there was a hijacking on that same date? What? July 13th, 1956? A hijacking, you say? I knew I was pushing it, and the plane's oxygen system was antiquated, but the rules of flight were not unknown to me, and I was a careful pilot. On the left side of the forward panel near the bottom was a blinker. When I inhaled, the gauge winked, meaning I was getting oxygen through my mask. With a cockpit pressure altitude of 38,000 feet, I needed all I could get. The last thing the crew chief did after he pulled the chocks for taxi was to cup his nose with one hand and give me a thumbs up with the other. That meant, check the blink and good luck. So I checked the blink every few seconds of the flight. After a long climb to level off and cruise, I felt myself trying to go to sleep. Flying the plane at that altitude was difficult enough without that kind of problem. I remember the air was quiet, even over the large populated areas. No one was around. No one was on the radio. No one to talk to. The impersonal lights were there, but I was all alone. In order to stay awake, I started playing stupid games, like moving my helmet from left to right and then back, and then lightly tapping on the canopy on both sides. That helped, but it was distracting, and I didn't want to break anything. Finally, I started moving my left hand in and out, looking at my glove as if I had not seen it before. Then, for no reason at all, I closed my fist, stuck my thumb out, moved it close to my face, an inch away from my left eye. Hey, you all just disappeared. My God, I had completely covered up Philadelphia. I had covered up millions of people with my thumb. The thought occurred to me that I was getting hypoxic. So I removed my glove, grabbed my flashlight, looked at my fingernails. They looked normal. If I was lacking oxygen, they would have been purple. And the blinker was winking. Well, I suddenly wished I had taken a drink back at the club. At least he can appreciate taking the drink. Oh, and Shiloh did write back. He does not know where that pebble was. Oh man, that's disappointing. It's all right, Shiloh. I'm on the case. I will find that pebble. I just need access to your home. Any secret writings he may have, any diaries. I'd like access to, of course, the Jeep. I need to dig around, get a few holes dug up in your backyard. I'd like to look at that waterfall as well. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously. Well, I suddenly wished I had taken a drink back at the club. The upside was that I didn't have trouble staying awake after that. The downside, though, was that I covered a few million people with my thumb, and it took me to another dimension in my mind, a place I would not yet visit again until the grave marker entered into my life. So 13 years prior, he's covering up millions of people with one thumb, and the thoughts going into his head don't come back from something like this until years later. Years later, I would meld these thoughts into one, the sum of which would change my life. And I'm coming to that. That innocuous incident made me wonder how important an average individual could be in the whole scope of life. We all live in the small cocoon of our own surroundings and a few friends and places. We are victims of our tiny environments. We stop when the light is red and pay the gas bill when it's due. Forrest, silly man. Sometimes when that gas bill's due and you don't have the money, you let it go a month and then you pay for it. And then you wait another month after that, and then you pay for it. Always a month behind, but somehow you skipped off one payment. Don't take that advice. I'm kidding. That's a joke. Strangers move in and out of our lives only to punctuate the moment with something useful, like a waiter or the paper boy. The human mind, what does he mean? Strangers move in and out of our lives only to punctuate the moment with something useful, like a waiter or the paper boy. So the waiter, this stranger comes into your life with your food or drink. And the paper boy comes into your life with the daily news. Okay. The human mind somehow wonderfully conjectures that the body in which it resides in is important. I agreed. It is constantly judging others and identifying faults without relating them to itself. In many ways, we are but sheep following the dictates of other minds, many of which are not as fruitful as our own. So is there a deeper meaning to it all? Can we pour all of the non-physical thoughts and happenings into one cohesive boiling pot that will give us something useful? Could some subliminal gene perhaps be the answer to all that we cannot see but know is there? I mean, my God, it sounds like he's talking to a treasure hunter right there, doesn't it? Yet we know this was written long before this book came out. But it does go into pondering the ideas. How long was Forrest deciding to put thoughts for treasure hunters' minds to learn like a sponge into his life's works? I don't know. Later, I laughed at myself and certainly wasn't going to tell anyone about the Philadelphia caper. The flight surgeon would have grounded me for sure, but I would remember the feeling it brought, and it would later tie into others that would be as equally as humbling. My personal contribution to the Vietnam War was of dubious distinction. I had been shot down once in the south of that country and once again in Laos. My reward for all of that was about $1,000 a month in pay, a Silver Star, 3 Distinguished Flying Crosses, a Bronze Star, 16 Air Medals, and a Purple Heart. And when I boarded the plane that brought me home, 2 South Vietnamese pilots ran up and handed me a small box, saying, quote, "We want you to have this." It was the Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry, their country's highest medal. Although it was not officially presented, I still value it and the appreciation that came with it. Never mind how important those things were to me at the time, they later added up to a big empty. Was there nothing better to show for that year away from my family and risking my life every day? Maybe so. Instead of all those medals, I wish I could have been given a college degree in survival, or at least an honorable mention for just having lasted it out. Or maybe when it comes my turn to die, somehow that year could be rebated and tacked on to let me last a little longer. The sense of pride that I felt while serving in that war has since seeped out of me, but I am still alive. What about those whose bones are rotting under the headstones of 1,000 wars? Are we forever destined to the same old bloody waste, forever, over and over and over? Surely there is more out there, but where? Looking back now, I feel as if I was being slowly educated by a larger hand, one that I could not then identify. I have already said that the whole Vietnam thing was unlikely as far as my participation was concerned. The Philadelphia saga is of no consequence except for the underlying mystic implications that took me years to sort out. Well, Forrest, if it took you years to sort that out, I'm sorry, but me reading this now, like, it's going to take me years to sort it out too. Good grief. Both incidents are important only to me. They have produced something I cherish yet feel inadequate to explain, but I will try. Well, thanks, Forrest. It is more than sad to me Not just that the French soldiers are dead and buried, but that no one knows where they are or even who they were. No one is crying now that a half-century has passed. The ground knows, and the tall grass knows, but they won't tell. And what of the wives and children of those soldiers? Have they gone on to live with 100 forgotten memories? Sure they have. So in my mind, these lines have converged to tell a story that satisfies me in my heart, where only there it really counts. I justify expressing my thoughts here because they have been pounding at me for so long. I certainly can't identify all of the lines that spun the web that forms the latent beliefs that brought me here, but these are some. I borrow now from Omar Khayyam, I can't say that name, who died in the first quarter of the 12th century, supposedly the same century that our chest was from, 1150 AD. His words are some of those that tell the insidious stories the best, stories that have made me think. Yes, the lines converging, right? Right? We get that. When all the lines cross, the moving finger writes, and having writ moves on, nor all your piety nor wit shall lure it back to cancel half a line, nor all of your tears wash out a word of it. Alike for those for who today prepare, and those after some tomorrow stare, a muezzin from the tower of darkness cries, "Fools! Your reward is neither here nor there." Strange, is it not, that the myriads who before us passed the door of darkness through, no one returns to tell us of the road which to discover we must travel to. Those thoughts have much to say to me. There are others who have said the same thing, perhaps less eloquently, but just as meaningfully, such as Andy Warhol, who certainly had his 15 minutes of fame, or Shakespeare, in As You Like It, who wrote, "All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their entrances and their exits, and one man in his time plays many parts." Okay, Mr. Shakespeare, name just one player or even one part about which you speak. The name may be remembered if it is written, but what of the person? No, each one has faded like the smell of a dying daffodil. No sooner does one depart than another takes its place again and again, only for the same fate to befall. Did Shakespeare really say, in other words, that most of us come into this world for a little while, are blessed perhaps, and then depart and are soon forgotten by history? Of course he did. And Longfellow, who was born almost 200 years ago, wrote, "Lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing, leave behind us footprints in the sands of time." But what about those of us who are not great men? Are we not somehow entitled to leave a slight footprint somewhere? Did Lee Harvey Oswald thirst for a remembrance that nothing else mattered, or John Wilkes Booth? Both of them had a multitude of others have conveyed the same meaning in vastly different ways and at vastly different times and places. But they all really said the same thing. Look at me. I'm somebody. Please don't forget. So, of course, we forgot. The fun side is that it really doesn't matter who we are if we are someone to ourselves. No one else can think my thoughts, so I'm myself only to me. Does that make sense? So, to be important, I only need to impress myself. And I can do that if others are positively affected by what they see in me or see me do. Now I feel like we're getting closer to the nitty-gritty of why Forrest Fenn did this, but I digress. Why do the yellow and purple flowers flourish where no one is there to see? The answer is at last obvious to me. No one has to see what is there. That's a little ominous if we want treasure hunt answers, isn't it? No one has to see what is there. The grass sees, and the trees and the rushing waters of the spring creek also see. What has made me think that I had to see the beauty that is there in order to confirm its existence? We are all here only for the pleasures of others. Everything living, only for the pleasures of others. Of course, that's it. That's why the stone marker said, smile at a homely girl. It had to be pounded into me. That's why all of Philadelphia was reduced to a thumbnail, to show me that each one is as important as the all, myself no less than any of them and no more. It seems obvious to me now that we are all temporary statements, like a cut bouquet on the living room table, Shiloh, to make brief comments in passing and maybe cause a smile, then go on to make room for others who will play their parts. Thank you, Mr. Shakespeare. Forrest couldn't cover up Philadelphia unless Philadelphia existed. Forrest couldn't cover up all of the millions in Philadelphia with his thumb unless those millions existed. And no one could cover up those millions with their thumb unless Forrest were up there himself doing it. He needed them, and all of them needed him. When this realization hit me, at last I knew. If I cannot enrich those with whom I interact each day and cause them to be better for having passed their view, then I have wasted my turn. That I succeed in this endeavor is not as important as it is for me to make a solid try. For if the try is sincere, I have succeeded in whatever failure resulted. Kiss her on the cheek and whisper something that she will later note in her heart of keepsakes. Open the door for her, not to make her way easier, but just to say you care. Be there when she arrives to let her know your time with her is important. Silence can be well understood if she sees an improving look. So now, at least for me, I know. And if no one should ever think of me when I have passed this veil, it will be of no consequence. For I have finally found my way and am at peace with all of it. Now, all you got to do is read that 58 more times, and you might start to understand what Forrest is saying. Amen. 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 What do you guys think? Well, I mean, that's an open-ended question. What do you guys think that particular section of the book has to do with the overall chase? You know, I kind of almost wonder, Forrest could have been asked a zillion times, you know, why'd you do this, Forrest? And all Forrest had to do was say, oh, well, you know, you should probably read my war for me. He could have just said that, right? He doesn't. He talks about Clark Gable. He talks about a recession. But does tell us if you do anything, read that chapter. I never quite know if I understand what Forrest is saying in anything. Truly. That man is clever beyond clever. It always amused me when folks tried to tell me what Forrest meant about something. Because I think sometimes Forrest didn't even know himself what he meant. I think he'd be the first one to say it too. So it's I find that section to be one of the most important pieces of writing he ever created. I hope you guys agree. I'm going to end today's stream with a lost spoiler. I've wanted to use it before. I've saved it. I don't want it to get misconstrued with what I'm saying it for. This is not a let's move on scene, even though that's kind of what is depicted in the scene. But I think we all hope and wish. I think Forrest himself was hoping and wishing for life's answers. And this scene is kind of all of us hoping and wishing for life's answers. And in this scene, Jack gets it from his father. I gotta. There we go.
Hello, Jack. I understand. You died. Yeah. Yes, I did. Then how are you here right now? How are you here? I died too. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay, son. Are you real? I sure hope so. Yeah, I'm real. You're real. Everything that's ever happened to you is real. All those people in the church, they're all real too. They're all dead? Everyone dies sometime, kiddo. Some of them before you, some long after you. But why are they all here now? Well, there is no now here. Where are we, Dad? Well, this is a place that you all made together so that you could find one another. The most important part of your life was the time that you spent with these people. That's why all of you are here. Nobody does it alone, Jack. You needed all of them, and they needed you. For what? To remember and to let go. Kate, she said we were leaving. Not leaving, no. Moving on.
Good night, guys. Love you. Peace out.